Welcome to Aether tutorial on creating actions from meetings. Now first of all, we'd just like to go back and revise what we have in the actions module. Now you can see here in the actions module, so we've clicked on actions down the bottom here, we have a giant list of actions. These have all been created either in a meeting where you see the meeting icon or directly between two people. In which case you see here the owner is presentation. I'm just going to move the owner here. Presentation administrator, who just happens to be me, and my mock or fake contact, Angela Merkel. So we have this idea that actions can come from either being created or from meetings. Now, how do I actually create an action from a meeting? But first to understand that these actions are independent of the meeting. So this action was created from a meeting, but it is not sort of embedded in the meeting. It is now a live object and can evolve with its own history. So people can interact with that action independent of the meeting. So that's an important concept to note when we come back to actually looking at meetings. So I already have a meeting opened here. So here we are inside a meeting now. I just simply open one of these meetings that I got from the meetings module. And I go to agenda and outcomes, and now I'd like to create an action. Now I'm going to create this action. I'm going to say, what am I going to say for this? Find supplies, find internet cable from a supplier. I'm going to say the responsible is me as a presentation administrator, and the owner is going to be, say, Bill Clinton. Or Angela, it's actually the presentation, and the responsible will be Bill. Okay, we're going to say it's due in 3 days' time. It's critical, and we're going to put it in, let's say, third-party software collaboration. Now, please contact and price supplies. Okay, so we have a bit of detail for this action. Now I hit save, and we know I've put it in Information Technology Third-Party Software Certification. That's the folder that it's in. We know that's here. So let's go have a look. Information Technology Third-Party Software Certification. Information Technology Third-Party Software Certification. And here you are. We know the name of the action is Find Internet Cable from a Supplier. And now we've looked we're under Actions now. We're under Information Technology, the project, and we're in the folder Third-Party Software Collaboration. And there's no action. So where's our action? Why can't I find this action? So the issue that we have here is that the action is actually in the meeting as a draft. Let me explain that a little bit further. You can see here the meeting is in draft phase. That is, you can put whatever you want into the meeting, whether you half complete things or 3/4 complete things or leave things basically unemptied. It doesn't matter. It's in draft. It's like a blank Word document. You can fill in whatever you want. But when you're going to create data within the system, when you're going to create actions within the system for people to do, you have to complete all the information required. So for example, if I wasn't to put in the responsible, that's not a problem in terms of when the meeting's in a draft. It will still save the meeting. But it won't let me export the action. So what do I mean by that? You can't create bad data. All actions require a responsible. But I don't want to prevent people from saving the meeting, because they can be in the meeting doing things very quickly. You want to make sure you've saved your data and you want to run off. You don't have always have the time to complete everything in that moment. So you can always go back and say, oh, actually, this was meant to be Barack Obama. Now that I've got all the data complete, I will be able to export the data. And so what I have to do is I have to say that the meeting is being held. So right now draft means we've planned the agenda, we could have potentially started the meeting, but when I say that the draft phase is over, I'm saying that the meeting is complete, we've written the minutes, and the draft phase is over. So when that bit is over, the meeting is done, we go phase up. That's the crucial moment here is this phase up here. Once we get to phase up, what it's trying to do is it's about to create actions within the actions module. That is, it's going to create the action back in here that you can't see. Because in meetings, an action in a meeting in draft phase is not really an action. It's just a container within a meeting. Once we publish that meeting, then it will exist. So watch this. So it's saying the following actions and action updates will be created as part of this phase change. Once actions have been created, they can no longer be changed within the meeting module. Any subsequent changes will be recorded as an update to the action. We'll look at that a little further later. So find internet cable, presentation. So let's say we go ahead, we click OK, and the meeting has been moved ahead in time. So now we're further along, minutes in review. That is, the minutes have been drafted and sent out. Now right now it's drafting me an email to send to everybody because that's the default for my meeting. Which you can see, so it's going to send out the minutes, and inside the minutes there's an action here. Find internet supplier, and here's the full details. Tells you who's it to. Now, close that. And when I come back and I look at the action module, because now I'm in actions and I'm under the folder, I can now see that action has been created from the meeting, and it tells me what meeting it came from. So if I was to close this meeting, I can now see that that meeting has created this item, and I can go open related meeting, and that will show me where it came from. You open up the agenda, and there's this action that is existing. Okay, now what happens if I was to change the details of this action? Let's say I come along, as the minutes aren't finalized, we might actually want to change something. Actually, it wasn't Bill. This is a really important point. Let's say now when I hit save, and I come back and look at that action, and we open this action, it gives you a warning. It says, warning, presentation administrator changed the action details in meeting. The action has now been changed to Bill Clinton. But here within the system, it's still Barack Obama. It says in the meeting we've changed it, but here we haven't. That's very important because people can start working on an action independent of the meeting. Minutes can be reviewed for weeks at a time. But that doesn't necessarily mean people shouldn't start working on the action whilst the minutes go around to be reviewed. The action was discussed in the meeting, and when things are discussed in the meeting, they should basically, when people walk out of the meeting, begin. So this feature allows you to change the minutes in the future. It will be documented within the action, but it won't automatically change the person, because actions, as I explained earlier, once created from the meeting, are independent of the meeting. So all we do is, if there's any changes to the meeting, we document those changes within the action. But as it's a separate item, as they're not directly linked, if you change the meeting, it won't directly change the action. It will just document it. And if I want to then reassign the action, I can come up and I can then follow suit and reassign the action to Bill Clinton as per meeting. And the action has now been reassigned. And Bill Clinton and Barack Obama will both be given notification that that action has changed. Now, if we go back to the meeting, that's finished, and then we go back to the meeting, we can now see that crucial concept of independence. And if we close that meeting, you can now see that this action was created at the top here. It also shows you that was a change here. So you've got a really good record of how this action has been updated.